None of his 4 wives were able to give him a son. Hey wonderful people, welcome to my channel, Ella Kitchen and Lifestyle. This is the place where we tell stories while making a delicious meal. If you haven't subscribed with us, please do so that you won't miss any story. This man was wealthy, respected, and everything seems perfect except one thing. He had no male child, and in his culture, it was a big deal. He also believed that having a son would secure his legacy. So he married not 1, not 2, but 4 wives, all in search of a son. Each wife came with hope. Every pregnancy brought excitement, but every time it was a daughter. 1, 2, 3, 4 daughters, and then 5, and then 8. And by the time his 4th wife had her 3rd daughter, people started to whisper. They say maybe it's not meant to be. Some said maybe it's karma. But this man didn't give up. He grew bitter, distant, and even cold. Love in the house slowly faded away. His 4 wives became like strangers. They share a house, but not a bond. While wallowing in his sorrow, one day he met a 25-year-old young woman, very vibrant, beautiful, and full of life. Among all his wives, she had something different, a son. She wasn't wealthy, but she had warmth. She didn't try to impress him. In fact, she didn't even know who he was at first. But something about her caught his heart. Then he began to visit her, not because of a child, but because of peace. There is this kind of peace that he always experiences each time he's around this woman, and he never felt it in his home. And over time, he fell in love with her, not minding that she already have a son. Eventually, he made a bold decision and adopted her son, and then married her as the 5th wife. Now, you can imagine what happened next. The 4 wives were furious. They saw her as a competitor, a nobody, suddenly becoming the most loved. They mocked her, isolated her. Some even accused her of using sham to control their husbands. The best part of this was that she paid no heed to their gossip. Then, a few months into the marriage, she got pregnant. And not just that, she gave birth to a son. The man was overjoyed. After all these years, after 4 wives, it was the 5th one, the one he didn't even marry for children, was the one that gave him what he desired most. That was the final straw. The 4 wives teamed up against her. They tried everything: gossip, spiritual attack, even attempt to harm her and the children. It became toxic and dangerous. There were times when the woman couldn't sleep in the house. They have to rent either a hotel or she go back to her father's house because of spiritual attack. At some point, she left the house entirely for 2 years because she always experienced headache, as if she was running mad each time she steps her foot into the house. While having this headache, she was seeing things. Sometimes she sees doubles, sometimes she sees ghosts. It was a kind of creepy things that was going on in the house, and she couldn't bear it anymore. The spiritual attack was affecting her marriage, but there is this bond that she and her husband share that no one would ever take away, no matter how hard they try. Attacks do get to her husband, but because that each time these attacks come, everyone in the house goes hungry, goes broke, so they stopped attacking the husband and focused on the woman alone. They focused on her because they know that once they get her, the children will be easy. Even while the man rented another apartment for her to stay with the kids, they were still there troubling her, arranging kidnappers, arranging all sorts of things, but the woman always gets away with all this. When her husband couldn't risk it anymore, he started making plans for them to travel abroad, but that was another battle. Applied for Canadian visa and was denied 5 consecutive times. After a few years, he decided to try Europe because all he wanted was for his wife to be saved. At some point, they relocated from the city where they were to another state entirely just to be saved. Now that he has a son, he did not want anything to happen to him. Either he's the love of his life or the son that he has always prayed for. As all these things were happening, children were growing, and these boys turned out to be good children, more than the girls that the other women had for him. Because he's a good man, he always makes sure that he takes care of his family. Each and every one of them gets what they deserve, even though they were so mean to him and his wife. At some point, he told himself that this is his retirement plan. Let him go find a place where he can be peaceful with his wife and his sons. That was when a friend of his who is residing in Australia invited him to come over with his family. Within 6 months, he got all the papers needed and they flew to Australia. So let's take a moment and go through what I'm doing so that I can explain better. So this is called sea snail. I am making seafood okra, and every ingredient that I'm using here is seafood. I just washed it, I am adding water to it in a pressure pot so that it will be properly boiled and soft, because we need it soft. If you use it like this, it's very hard. So it's not something you cook for 3 minutes. You cook it more than 5 minutes in a pressure pot for it to soften. So this is prawns. I'm using prawns and crab and the sea snail for this soup. And just stick with me, and while listening to stories, you'll be able to get what I am doing. And if at the end of the video you have a question, please do ask me. I have true life stories on my shorts. If you have not been there before, please do go visit my short so that you will listen to true life stories of people. And thank you for sticking around. I am using a mud pot to do this because it's very healthy. It's very healthy to boil your food using a mud pot. Yeah, most people know this pot as a clay pot, but I choose to call it a mud pot because it's made out of mud. If you have watched up to this place, thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate it. If you want to make okra soup, you mustn't use seafood. You can use other protein. If you go to my shorts, I believe you will see varieties of okra that I've made with different proteins, with fish, with meat, with different chicken, name it. So it mustn't be seafood because a lot of people don't have access to see seafood from their location. So I don't want to bore you with you must do it with seafood, just as seafood tastes better. Maybe you don't have all the seafood that I use, but you want to make okra. You can actually use maybe one and other proteins to go along with it, and it's going to taste out nice. So I've just added blended crayfish and a seasoning cube, and I added a pinch of salt. So let's proceed with the story, and I'll come back to explain more. He relocated her and her 2 sons abroad. It wasn't just a move. It was a new beginning for them. They were now far away from constant envy that has poisoned their home. Far away from bitter whispers and jealous glances. Far away from the endless drama that haunted their everyday lives. He bought a new house, one filled with sunlight and space, where his 5th wife and her children could finally breathe free. The house wasn't just a shelter, it was a sanctuary. He made sure they lacked nothing. Every need was met with attention and care. The boys were enrolled in the best school where they could learn and grow without fear and judgment. Health care was readily available. Protection was always nearby, ensuring their safety in a world that has too often been unkind. And for his 5th wife, he arranged a life she could only have dreamed of. A life where she could wake up without fear, where her children could laugh out loud without restraint, where love was the only thing that mattered. After staying with them for a while, he went back to his country to continue with his business, and it became a visit, a phone call, and photos sent from far. They promised that no matter the distance, they must always be connected. But as time passed, something inside the man shifted. He found himself craving for the peace that only the 5th wife brought him, the calm radiance from home she built with him and their children. He began visiting often, sometimes twice in a month. This was the life he could afford, but the fear of always being on the air never stopped him from going. On his 4th trip to go visit his wife, he found out that she was pregnant, and he decided that he doesn't want to be going back and forth. He decided to relocate to stay with them, and that was the best decision of his life. A few months after he relocated, his wife gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and they lived happily ever after. He was so grateful because he went from searching for peace of mind to getting the son that he mostly desired. Hey people, thank you for joining me to this point. If you have watched to this point, just know that I love you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your support. Please do well to like, share, comments, and subscribe for more videos like this. See you in my next video. Bye.